the Plotcast podcast with the Potty Plotters. Sponsored by J. Parker's, experts in helping you grow your garden for less.
Hello and welcome back to the Potty Plotters Plotcast podcast. This is season 3, episode 10, and I'm Julia.
And I'm Elaine.
Hello, Elaine.
Hello.
You're suffering as well, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I've, picked something up from you, Elaine, I think.
I like it where every time one of us is ill, we always go, yeah, it was Elaine that brought it to us.
No, I don't know.
I don't know where I got it from. I think it was from one of the talks. Don't know, but I'm fighting fit.
Oh, well done.
Thank you.
Right. Well, you can you read out how people can get in contact with us?
I can, but Gareth's really good at it. He knows it off by heart. So let's pass it over to him.
Okay, let's get Gareth to do it.
Okay, so if you've got any questions, or if you'd like to send us a picture of what you're up to on your plots or in your gardens, then you can get in touch via Facebook and Instagram at Potty Plotters. You can email us naughtycorner@pottyplotters.uk, or check, there's a red ant running across my...
It's a spider, not an ant.
Spider, okay. There's a red spider.
Yeah.
Running across my page right now. It's almost like the teachers come along to market.
It is, actually.
Or you can check out the website pottyplotters.uk, and this episode of the podcast is being brought to you by J. Parker's, which is a family-run business with over 90 years experience. J. Parker's considers it their mission to provide excellent value bulbs and plants along with first-class service that you deserve. Use the code GARDEN15 and you'll receive 15% off your order. Visit them online at jparkers.co.uk.
The Plotcast podcast with the Potty Plotters, sponsored by J. Parker's.
Can I just say something before we move on?
Yes.
I've not really noticed this before this season. So we're sat to the side of the tangerine, which is like an orangery but smaller.
Exactly.
Yes.
And you've got the window open, so I can look straight through.
Yeah.
And I've never seen it looking so neat and tidy at the back. You've got like the shelves and everything.
Oh, thank you very much.
Well, it's ready this week, actually, for a mega clear-out.
Yes.
So if you're not doing anything one day this next week, come and help us.
Yeah, we're planting our loofahs in there, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're quite
it's
excited.
Be a big change, but yes, it does look gorgeous.
Yeah, and actually, there's a lot less plants in there, isn't there, Elaine?
I haven't been fighting through in my David Bellamy impression to get to the plot.
Because we took how many when we went to...
we did a plant sale, didn't we, at Newton Solney?
Yeah, we gave away.
So for people who aren't from the area, Newton Solney is a lovely, picturesque little village.
It is, yeah.
And it's just on the border of Burton-on-Trent in Staffordshire. So it's you go through all the nice, pretty villages like Willington and Repton to get to it, and it is lovely in Newton Solney. One road, but it's lovely.
It really is lovely. And Elaine and I were thinking of moving there, but apparently they've started a campaign to stop it. But we did have a lovely time. Yes, and we love going to the plant.
You told people, didn't you?
Yeah, and
suddenly there's no houses for sale.
No,
we're brilliant at a plant sale. If anyone wants us to go to their plant sale, because actually we threaten people on the way out, don't we?
Yeah,
if they don't come out without a plant, they've got to go back in, and it works brilliantly. It sells them out. So we had a lovely time.
I'm not sure we should term it as threaten.
No,
but it was.
I know. Threaten's not a nice word. Encourage.
Yeah.
Hold hostage, not a nice word.
No,
we didn't.
Shut the door. Perfectly okay.
Yeah,
no, it was really good.
We had a lovely time.
They raised the most that they've ever raised this year. So over £1,000. So we were thrilled with that. And then, of course, we went to another one just the week before, and that was in Hege in Belper, which is going out of Derby
to the north.
Yeah, and that was quite something. I know that we've talked about it, but that family have been raising money through garden parties. They have an annual garden fete, and they've been doing it for 38 years.
Ooh,
it's amazing.
That's a commitment.
Yeah, it started with the mother, and then the daughters have moved on and carried on, but the mother's still involved, isn't she? She still likes to attend.
Isn't she?
But I mean, it's brilliant because it's just like a normal house in the street. But when you get behind those
that's what
gates,
they say about everything, really. It's
really
a normal house.
Yeah. But when you get in, it opens up, and I mean, it's probably at least
must be half an acre.
Yeah, easy. I mean, it's a good couple of our plots put together, isn't it? And there's marching bands, and there's
everything.
There's cream teas, and they have raised over £100,000 over the years that they've done it.
And this last year,
well done.
This last year, when we went, they raised 5,900.
That's good.
On a day. So that is amazing. And it's tipped them over the 100,000.
Well done.
Well done.
Yeah, well done.
If you can hear, and it's gone slightly quieter now, but if you can hear the tractor in the background, we are recording on a day where They're trying to fill a skip, apparently.
Yeah, there's a lot of activity.
I wish you told me this, because I've got a lot of rubbish that needed to go in a skip, and I could have brought it down.
We didn't know that, and actually, no, you're not allowed to now, because they've got cameras trained on it to stop people fly tipping, which is very clever.
Skip spy.
Yes, exactly. So they're very busy backwards and forwards on the trailer from one area of site to the other, filling the skip up with stuff that people have left on plots. And that quite nicely links into some of the things that we're talking about today, doesn't it, Elaine? Because one of the things that I've put to talk about today...
I like the fact you've done this.
I've done this one today, so it probably sounds very different because I waffle a lot more. But one of the things that I put down to talk about was how people actually get an allotment and the questions to ask when you go to view your allotments.
It's a bit similar, isn't it, to buying a second-hand car, not a new car. We're dispelling that.
Yeah.
We're talking about second-hand, because if you don't ask the right questions, you don't get those answers that later in life you will regret not having got.
Yes.
So, for instance, when's the MOT due? When was it last serviced? Where was it serviced? All these kind of things that are
You're
very
impressing
relevant.
me with these questions.
Yeah.
Yes, it's amazing that I know them, but it is true.
Yes.
But when it comes to allotments, it's exactly the same.
Yeah. So the first question to ask is how you go about getting them. And of course, there's lots of different ways across the country that people go about getting them. So our site, you obviously apply to us directly. And one of the ways that we do it is the fact that there is an online presence, there's a website, and people can then go through the website, or there is a phone number that people can ring to make an appointment.
Allotments.
Yeah, but you
Julia
apply
speaking.
but you apply to the site directly, whereas
Is that when she puts on her phone?
Your allotment voice.
Yeah, whereas some sites, they are managed by parish councils or other councils. Councils will manage them all. So how do you find out about it, Elaine? What would you do?
Well, I mean, at the moment, I haven't got a computer, so I can't do anything.
Yeah.
And that is very relevant because not everybody has got a computer. So if it was that, for instance, I've not got my computer, I've not had it for a fortnight, what I would do is, if I was looking at taking one at an allotment site nearby to where I live, I would walk there, I'd drive there and go and have a look for details that should be on the gate or near to the gate of how to contact them if you want to plot.
Yes.
I think that's very relevant. I think it's still very important because we take it as granted that everybody knows how to use a computer, or for people whose first language is not necessarily English, it's much easier for some people to talk about things rather than use a computer.
Yeah. I mean,
that's what I would say. And not everybody knows the names of places, Julia.
And
they don't make sense.
And that would be the first port of call that I would say is, if you've not got a computer, phone your local council or go and see your local council.
I was going to say, let's not phone Julia,
because you can't get it.
do
Okay,
that.
She's on one today. Or,
I'm just being realistic.
you are being realistic.
It's true, isn't it?
Or, contact your local parish council. Or if you are walking round, you may see an allotment. The thing with allotments generally is they're quite well hidden, aren't they? So you're not always going to find them, and a lot of them that we know in our city don't even have any kind of contact details displayed. So it's really sometimes quite tricky to get hold of one.
There was kind of around the COVID pandemic, a lot of people took up allotmenting because it was a way of getting out, because you're allowed to basically be outside all the time, and we had some really, really good weather. So there was probably a backlog of people waiting for allotments. Have you found that a lot of those people have potentially moved on now? We're back to, in inverted commas, normal, whatever that was before.
Yes.
So would you say there's now more plots available than there was, say, 2 or 3 years ago?
I've written before about allotments and the popularity of them, Gareth, and that they ebb and flow. Mm-hmm. And they will continue to do that while ever we're alive. Because something will happen on the telly that will bring them to the fore and they become very popular. COVID happened, as you said. Mr. Gove said that we could actually get out. We could go to allotments. It was our green space. It was our exercise. So they rose in popularity. I was letting secretary here at that particular stage, and I let 6. That meant that we haven't got any more. all 6 left straight after COVID. Within 6 months, all of them had gone. They were not dedicated people. They didn't do it how we would necessarily have done it, and they certainly didn't fall in love with their allotments.
Do you think they were after a quick fix in
Well,
reality?
I think most people on allotments, unless you are setting your stall out and you're completely dedicated, I don't think you realise how much time is involved and how much hard physical work is involved. Most people expect results within 3 weeks. You're not going to get results in 3 weeks, dependent on the condition of the allotment when you took it over.
Yeah. And that's the difficulty, isn't it? Because, of course, people will go round a site and see some of the plots which are immaculate and looking absolutely lovely and expect to achieve that within a very short period of time. And that does not happen. Unless you've got an army that can come in and help you clear it and help you build it and put the structures in and everything else. An allotment takes time, it evolves, and the biggest thing to do is actually clear it usually, because generally when you are offered an allotment on a site, generally the ones that you are offered have either been given up or somebody has been kicked off or it's been kind of lying there for a couple of years. So generally the ones that you are offered are the ones that are really overgrown. Very rarely are you offered one that is in immaculate condition, are you?
I think it depends really on I know that when I was letting secretary I was very quick off the mark because our lettings policy was, I suppose, different to most. So what I did was I let people come round and have a look at the plots, the whole site, to get a feel for it and to figure out whether or not they were suitable. Because if they don't realise how much digging is involved and how much physical work is involved, then they're on hiding to nothing, to be quite frank.
Do you think some people
give them a
expect
policy?
do you think some people expect plots to be not the sort of size that they get given, so they're kind of thinking, I could probably cope with that because I'm not going to get something that's much bigger than, say, my back garden that's cleared in reality.
But then
they arrive.
Yeah.
But I know you guys have the starter plots, which are smaller size plots, but then you look at the normal size plots, and that would scare a lot of people instantly.
Yeah, well, we did do a Chop the Plot campaign some years ago, and trying to get people to look at that, because of course the needs for allotments have changed in that most people who now allotment are not needing to do it, they want to do it, whereas in the olden days when I was little, my dad had to do it or we'd have starved, and that's very different.
Yeah, and I think, and one thing that we experienced was that a lot of people will come along and want the biggest plot possible because they want to do this, they want to do that, and actually if you've got no experience, that
taking too much on.
Absolutely, because you really don't know what you're taking on. But so say you found your site, Elaine, and what we would encourage people to do, certainly, if you know there are a couple of sites in your area, go round and have a look at the different ones, because they all have different rules, different ways of being managed, a different feel to them as well. So one site may suit you more than another site. So that's what first thing I would say to people. But then, so I've been asked to go along. What questions should I be asking if I'm looking for a plot?
First of all, I'd want to know what kind of soil they've got, whether it be clay or mud, or if they're on a floodplain. That can make a big difference to the nutrients that are in your soil. So I'd want to know about that. I'd want to know the price of the plot. Generally, they're priced by the metre. That's what I do know. I also want to know if there's any community facilities, such as toilets. Is there a shop? What do they sell? When is it open? And also access to the plots. Now, some people put deposits down. I do know of those, whereas we don't do deposits. So there's lots of those type of administration questions, but primarily I'd want to look at a copy of their rules.
Yes.
Anybody who blames the committee, well, usually I look at them rather than the committee, because the committee, generally speaking, are volunteers who are just trying to keep the plots neat and tidy. So I would start and look at that. I'd look at the overall site and see how it's kept, because some people, like we're very lucky that we've got a container, we've got a shop, we've got toilets, we've got a tractor, we've got volunteers. Ours is a whopping site compared to some. So, and you can access it all day and night, whatever you want to do. The rules are very clear. You're given the rules before you embark. In fact, you have to have read them before you actually embark on taking one over. And generally speaking, if you've not had an experience of taking an allotment before, we'd give you a small plot.
Yes.
And that way we know then that in the 3 months probation, you should succeed.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I would be questioning as well, if I was being offered a new plot, was where does the water come from?
Oh, absolutely. I forgot about the water.
That's a key thing, really, isn't it? Because, of course, we've experienced the extremes, but, when you're watering your plants, especially if you've not been allowed to have some kind of structure on the plot, so you'll be able to see whether there are structures on plots when we're talking about greenhouses, polytunnels, sheds. If you haven't got them, where are you going to collect your water from? Is it water that you can go, it's communal water? How does it actually arrive at the plot, or have you got to bring some on with you? So I think that's one of the fundamental questions, as well as soil. Where does the water come from? The other thing I would say is, as I say, a lot of them will be quite overgrown when they've been given to you. How are you going to manage that? So, are you allowed to use weed killer? Some sites won't allow it. Yeah.
Or even power tools. If you've got no electricity, they've got to be battery powered, haven't they?
Yeah.
It's quite an arduous task. But Julia, I'm coming back to it. You don't necessarily have to buy the first second-hand car that you see.
No.
You can ask all of these questions and then go to different garages. Exactly the same with allotments. Go to different allotment sites and have a look what they offer.
And that's one other question that's worth asking. If you go to a site that you actually like, but the plot itself doesn't seem right for you, are you allowed to say no and then go on the waiting list and wait for something else to come up? Or do you have to take what has been offered to you? That's something I really think is worth asking, because, of course, the excitement, the enthusiasm, you just want to get on. But actually, it might be worth just delaying it and looking later on, because if you offered one in May, June time, it's not necessarily the best time to clear a plot.
I'd say it's the worst time.
Yeah.
Leave it until October. October, November is the best time. The weeds generally have died back. It gives you a good thrashing so that you can get in there and dig the ground over, sort it all out, get your structures in place and hit the ground running in March.
Okay.
The Plotcast podcast with the Potty Plotters, sponsored by J. Parker's.
On that note, we have had an email in, Elaine. We've had an email in from Gillian Hewitt, and she says, "Hello, I'm really enjoying listening to your podcast."
Not quite right, is it, Gillian? It's love the podcast.
Oh. They are great. Well, thank you, Gillian.
Oh, she's redeemed herself.
Yeah, we are getting our first allotment in the next few weeks.
Ooh.
It's very
hottest time of the year.
Yeah, it's very overgrown, but we both will be retired soon and are really looking forward to hopefully growing lots of vegetables, etc. I was wondering if there are any links or information on where we should start. Thank you. Best wishes, Jill.
Oh, that's nice.
So I would suggest picking up about. So when you get your plots, pick up late season 1 when we spoke about clearing plots.
Oh.
Because that'll basically take her through everything, and she could carry on through the season up until the start of, say, this season or season 2, and then it starts the whole process there.
And really go back to what we were saying. The first thing that you need to do is look very carefully at what you've been offered and ask the rules. It's amazing as to how many people take on a plot and they don't know any rules at all as to what they can do until they start doing it, and somebody then very quickly comes along and says, "You can't do that, it's against the rules." That's how it goes, you see. Really
exactly like that.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. But I mean, the thing to do, I suppose, is also talk to the other plot holders to find out about the conditions on that site, if there's anything you need to be aware of. But I mean, as well
interview
as
Kev Plot too.
well, as well as listening to our podcast, which I think is quite informative. I mean, we are allotmenteers
and entertaining.
We're not gardeners. We're allotmenteers.
Educational.
Yes, thank you, Gareth.
Gareth's pushing this.
Yes. I mean, I do like to use a few tools online. One website that I used very early on was something called allotmentgarden.org.uk, and it was by a guy called John Harrison, and his wife actually wrote the book.
John Harrison. It's Pam Harrison, isn't it?
Yeah, and his wife,
they've written a few books.
And his wife, Val, she does a lot of preserving
Yeah,
and
she
picking,
does, yeah.
and you've given me the books of
Yeah.
hers. Now, they've had an allotment for a number of years, many years, and I found that really useful from an allotmenteers point of view. But there are some great tools online as well as obviously what we talk about. I mean, I love there's one called growveg.org.uk, I think, by Ben somebody. Now, he's very informative and he breaks it down in segments, but there are some fantastic YouTubers and people out there, but it's understanding who's good and who's bad and who's, whether it's experimental or not. But yeah, I mean, it's finding someone that you like to watch, really. But I think we're quite informative, aren't we?
I think we are. And Jill can take us with her.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Well, that would be good, wouldn't it?
Oh, I don't know if I'd want us in our ears when you're on the allotment, would you?
No, but I tell you what, I'd like to know how she goes on.
Top-notch advice, no Latin included. The Potty Plotters Plotcast.
Now, Elaine, this is something that's cropped up because...
Oh, I like what you did there.
Oh, yeah, crop. Yeah, it is a
crop.
crop. Something that's cropped up just because of a few questions that I've been getting as I've been on site. So, obviously, there's fruit on the plots and people are getting quite excited because there's quite a bit
there's a lot
of
this year.
fruit that is showing on the trees,
Yeah.
on the bushes. And it really is a question of what to harvest now, what to protect now, how to protect it. So I just thought I would do a quick overview of what's on the plots in June and what to look out for. So obviously people might start to panic when they start seeing their apples and pear trees dropping fruit, but this is quite normal, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it happens every year and not at all to worry. It's a way of them casting off what they don't want.
Yes.
And the fruit will just drop.
Yeah.
So don't worry about that
Yeah.
at all. It happens naturally. Our pear trees and plum tree at home has done it already.
And actually the plants benefit from it.
Yeah.
And if they don't do it and they don't drop enough, you can go round and pick them off, because most most apples and pears you want to grow either as a pear, a pear, or singly, so that the fruit there has got room to grow, room to swell, and probably it's going to be less prone to any diseases.
Yeah, but if you've
problems.
taken on a garden or an allotment and you've just seen this happen, it can be a bit of a worry, can't it?
Definitely.
So, don't panic.
Don't panic. Now, another thing, I love it, and I think, Wimbledon is looming, so I start thinking strawberries, they're looming as well, and they are starting to crop on my plot at the moment.
Yeah.
What should we be doing with strawberries, Elaine?
Eating them, yeah. I agree with Gareth.
Because they don't last that long when you pick them.
Was there a proper answer?
The proper answer is make sure they are well watered, because of course they need plenty of water to swell the fruit, but also they would benefit from being fed once a week. So I feed them with a tomato feed.
Why do you feed them now?
Well, when anything's in fruit, it's worth giving them a feed. So, and they benefit from tomato feed, anything that's high in potash, because that will help swell the fruit and improve the fruit. So that's why I give them a feed, and I want them to carry on throwing out new flowers. And also the important thing to do is net them.
I was just going to say, I've noticed you've netted yours.
Yes, but importantly, and I think we made reference to it last time we were on the podcast,
nets,
about netting and making sure that the netting has got big enough holes to allow the pollinators through to actually pollinate your strawberries, because it's no good having the flowers on but then smothering it in a very close knit net that you can't actually the pollinators can't get to.
And also no plastic. We don't need the plastic cloches, because the plastic cloches will just make everything sweat and ultimately rot.
That's right.
So keep them off as well.
That's right. And also I've noticed that the black currants are starting to they're full and abundant and starting to turn. So again, covered them with netting, because again, if we don't cover, the birds will be here and they will have them. So that's all you've really got to think about. And even things like apples and pears and the fruit bushes, if we had a really dry period, if you've still not had any rain, I would be thinking about giving them a bit of water. Anything that's got fruit that's swelling,
it needs some water.
It needs watering, a brilliant bit.
Have you got one?
I have got one.
You sounded just like my husband then, just because I didn't reply. He said it again.
Just in case you hadn't heard.
Yeah, I had heard. Have you got one?
I have got one.
Go on,
Thank you.
man. Go on, where is it?
Well,
It's not on the table, is it?
No, because
it's on the bush.
I can still do it. So
Right, okay.
if
It's
you
not
are,
that brilliant then, is it?
well, if you're busy side shooting
There's
your...
like a ladybird here.
Yeah.
Oh, there's loads about this
Yeah,
year,
there
which is
is.
brilliant.
That's a brilliant bit.
I keep relocating. Oh, that's a brilliant bit. Relocate your ladybirds.
Yeah.
If there's somewhere where you don't want them to be and you've got problems on one of your bushes, just relocate them. It'd be like taking them out for a Sunday buffet.
It is.
Yeah.
All you can eat.
All you can eat buffet. And then
that's not the brilliant
that's
bit.
not-
Eat aphids.
Yeah, that's not the brilliant bit. The brilliant bit is making more
You won't find
tomatoes
anything
out
on
of
there.
tomatoes, Elaine.
Yeah. Making
Crawling
more
across my leaves,
tomatoes.
crawling across my cables.
You can have it. You can have it. You can take that one home.
Thanks.
Right then. Yes. So, how do you do it?
So all you do is, you take your side shoots out, your tomatoes, your cordon varieties of tomatoes, allow them to grow to about 2 inches before you take them off the plant, and then you just pinch them off the plant, drop them right up to the neck of where the leafy bit is into a little pot of compost, and then just water and leave it. And then within the next couple of weeks you will have another tomato plant.
And it's really important, isn't it, to water it. Don't
Water
just
it,
leave it.
yeah.
And don't put it somewhere that it's too hot.
No,
Which
just
will wilt.
yeah, just keep it a little bit wet from the bottom, and it'll soon set its own roots, and you'll have another tomato plant. And the reason that we do it is just so that we can have a later crop coming on. So, and it saves us having to set seeds.
And money.
Dead good brilliant bits. The Potty Plotters Plotcast.
Gareth, I think it's your bit now.
Oh, it's my bit.
Yeah.
So as you know, we're being kindly sponsored by J. Parker's, and ordering from J. Parker's has never been easier. Shop from the comfort of your own home, if you've got a computer, and have premium plants delivered right to your door. With over 2,000 products to choose from, you can unlock your garden's full potential. As a special offer for listeners to the Plotcast podcast, you can enjoy 15% discount on all orders. Head over to jparkers.co.uk and enter the code GARDEN15 at the checkout. That's GARDEN15 at the checkout, and discover your garden's full potential with J. Parker's today.
The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters.
Right then, sweet corn.
Yes,
This
we
is
did.
always a good one, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Did I spy sweet corn in there?
Yes,
Yes,
you did.
yes.
I'm getting
when
good
you
at
say
this.
in there, Gareth,
In the
where are you
tangerinery.
pointing?
In the
Yes.
So just behind the door,
Yeah.
you can just see it pointing out, and I was like, "There's some sweet corn there."
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Now then, we're growing it for different people, but so many people have had disasters this year,
Yeah.
what with one thing or another, and it is quite funny because you hear the stories and you think, right, okay, why don't you do it the way that we do it? But they put the little niblets of corn in, and most people this year, because of the hot weather that we've had, have just simply overwatered. That's all, because it looks like it's dry. Put your finger in,
Yeah.
and actually it might feel dry, but then what they've done is overwater.
And they've rotted the seed.
Yeah. So
we reverted to plan A again, and we used our takeaway container,
Yeah.
the old method that we use with the sweet peas, which is where we get a takeaway container clean and empty, and then we put a piece of kitchen towel damp at the bottom.
Try that one with the full Chinese in it.
interesting though.
Yeah, I bet there are niblets in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But we put the kitchen towel, dampen it, then sprinkle the seeds on the top, another piece of kitchen towel, dampen it, seal it, and pop it on the windowsill. And within 3 days, 3 days, they started to chick, Gareth, which meant we knew that the sweet corn were ready to be planted, and off they went. So now we've got trays and trays of them. And to be honest with you, we can say this because he's on holiday. We are going on Steve's plot. So Steve...
Steve's finally gone on holiday.
Steve's gone on holiday. Steve's always on holiday. We love Steve. He's on our site, plot 5. No, 6, plot 6. And we love him very much. But really, he loves to come down here and tinker and mend things.
He does.
And
Even when they don't need mending, he
No.
mends
I think we need to
them.
put this into perspective, because
Yeah.
people will wonder about Steve. Steve worked at one of the big engineering firms in this city.
yeah.
So therefore, he's very good at stuff like
Oh,
that.
he's very
He's
clever.
a
He
big
can-
engineer person.
Yeah, if he hasn't got the bit, he can make the bit. And he does
Exactly.
it. He's so clever.
Exactly.
But
So he's not a tinkerer.
No.
He's basically very useful to have
He's
on
And
site.
very talented.
He's very talented, and if we've got a problem,
Should make him
we
listen to
always
this,
go
he'll
to
blush.
Steve. Yeah. However, However, Steve really isn't interested in growing that much, is he? Or getting on his plot. He'll do anything not to be on his plot. So
Steve drives a tractor mostly.
Yeah.
He loves the tractor.
Yeah, we've decided while he's on holiday that we will go on his plot, clear it of the weeds and plant it. And one area we've identified as needing lots of plants and therefore lots of sweet corn is an area on Steve's plot. So we're going to plant all these sweet corn on Steve's plot. And he does love sweet corn.
He
know he loves them. So
we will do it.
He's had problems in the past on there, hasn't he, with the sweet corn? What was that, Elaine?
Well, he had rats, didn't he? That was the problem, and it really got his hair off. So we have been collecting, but we've been collecting single socks ready, so that as soon as the kernels are actually ready, all that he's going to do is put a sock on it, not a sock in it, on it, and that will protect them. So it should look nice in a couple of weeks when he gets back.
Do they need watering much?
Yeah, loads.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, but they also need planting in a block, which a lot of people don't do. So I've seen some lines coming in
lines.
today. Yeah, I do, but not of sweet corn. No. Never. You don't plant them in lines. You plant them in blocks. So you do 3 going up, 3 going across, 3 going down, 3 going across, and then you can put 1 in the middle. Yeah.
Although if you've got more sweet corn, you do 4, 4, 4.
Yeah, you can
do 5, 5, 5. You could do whatever you want, Gareth, but as long as they are in that block.
Mm-hmm.
And then what they do is that they pollinate each other, which is really good. And always, in fact, where did I... Oh, I know who it was, yeah. So I went to somebody's house very recent and they'd planted in a line. That was the first thing. And they'd planted them about 4 inches apart, Julia.
That's not very clever, is it?
No, and then the person said, have I planted them too close together? I must have sort of given that look. And I said, well, we always
You can always tell when you've done something wrong, can't you?
Well, if you've not been asked, you don't like to say, do you? But I must have given that vibe off, And I said, well, what we say on our site is you should have a bum's width between each plant.
Maybe they've got a small bum.
Yeah, no, it's not that small. Not that 4 inches. And if you have, that's amazing. But 4 inches, no, that's not going to work. They need some space to grow. And I did say, these grow to about 6 foot, don't you? I don't think this person really knew what sweet corn was.
Better listen to this podcast. Might learn a thing or two. But yes. It's the tassel on the top that then sends down all the pollination to the silks that are on the cobs. That start to form,
That's
isn't
right,
it?
yeah, but it won't be yet.
No.
So in the next couple of weeks, we'll get these set and then we'll talk about it again on the next one.
Yeah.
So that people
when
know
Steve's
what
on
we've
holiday
done.
again.
Judith Chalmers.
Now, I've seen lots of people on site planting their runner beans already, Elaine, and I've set some. To be honest with you, they're for me mum rather than me, more than anything. But you don't set yours until later, so it's not too late to set seeds, is it?
No? Oh, no, I don't do mine till the end of July. Oh, yeah, because the soil's warm, they're happy. There's loads of water generally at that time of year as well. And, it just seems that is the best time. The other thing is that I don't want them until we get back to hot dinners again, so by the time I put them in July, by the time they come through, which is around October, I take them as small beans and they are absolutely delicious. And that will keep me going until the first frost, so why not? I don't particularly like them frozen, Julia.
No, I don't think they freeze very well. So what's the things that we need to think about with runner beans? Do they need anything special? They need something to climb up, don't they?
They do, yeah. And what I do is I put 2 to each bamboo. I do 5 bamboos, so that becomes my wigwam. And then I put 2 plants to each of my bamboos. Now, I know that when we did Steve's the other day, we only put 1 per one.
He doesn't like beans that much, does he?
He doesn't actually. No. That's the funny thing about it, but he's having them.
Does Mrs. Steve?
Well, we'll find out in a minute, no doubt, won't we? I don't really like them. It'll be like that, won't it? No, that's nice, but I don't really like them neither. But anyway, he's having them. So all I would say is they're very easy to grow. We grow them in the cell tray. We don't put them direct as a bean into the ground because of the animals up here that eat them. And then once they've got going, they all wind themselves round their the bamboo in exactly the same way, but
Yeah.
they might need a little bit of training, so you might need to put them towards it,
Right.
and then they've got the tendrils and off they go.
Yeah.
So all I would say on that note is that they're easy to grow. Make sure that you're growing as many as you need. Don't be tempted to do a whole row like ye oldie people unless you've got an outlet for them, because once they get going, they
They don't
really
know when
do.
to stop.
And they need to be picked on a regular basis,
Very
don't
much
they,
so,
to
yeah.
keep them going, because again, you don't want them to set seed. And the one tip that I would suggest is, well, it is a tip, because what I do is I pinch out the tip. So
Yeah.
when it gets to near the top of the cane, I actually pinch it out, because otherwise they tend to kind of go and drape all over. But also, I can't reach the top of the canes, Elaine.
Yeah, well, you can have 3-foot ones if you want.
Thanks.
What I will say is, though, they're dead greedy, these plants. I don't know if you know that.
Ah.
They're very thirsty and very greedy. So what I have done before is I've grown them in massive tubs.
Yeah.
That works because it contains the water and
Yeah.
makes sure that it's all in that one place. But the other thing is that my dad used to do trenches in those days, but he used to rip up newspaper, put that in the bottom of the trench, like
Yeah.
shredding it, but we didn't have shredders in
No,
those
no,
days.
so you
Only
had to sit there
shreddies.
and do it.
Yeah, that's right. Put it all in the bottom
Elaine,
of the
the
trench.
shredder.
Yeah. And then put a load of muck in the bottom of
Yeah.
that, water it,
Yeah.
then put the soil back, and then plant on top
Right.
of that. So the roots always went down to it, and they always had a feast.
The Plotcast podcast with the Potty Plotters, sponsored by J. Parkers.
So, it's unusual for this point of the podcast for us to do something like this, but Sandra Neville has been in touch on the email
Yes.
naughtycorner@pottyplotters.uk.
Yeah, so Sandra's been in contact and she said, hello, it's me, everyone.
Hello, Sandra.
Hello,
Hi.
everyone. It's me again, Sandra from West Wickham. West Wickham.
I love that.
West
That's
Wickham.
West Wickham.
Yeah. I'm now up to date with the podcast and
Good.
still love listening to you all. Oh, that's a feat in itself. I wanted to share with you an idea I found on the internet, and they are called seed snails, not sales, seed
No.
snails.
Yeah.
That's a totally different thing.
As I'm limited with space in the greenhouse, I decided to go with this idea to start my seeds off and think others might find it useful too. I have planted most of my seedlings like this, from cucamelons, watermelons, tomatoes, leeks, Romanesco.
Romensko.
If
you needed help, I'll help you.
I thought
flagging
Julia was right, actually.
I need to,
Romensko.
yeah, Romensko, and even carrots. And they use a lot less compost and space. Then unroll them and select a few seedlings for myself to pot on and offer the rest to family, friends and other plot holders. I'm happy with how the seedlings have grown, as this is my first time growing things from seeds. Well, I've never had a go at this, Elaine, have you?
No.
Have you seen them?
Yes.
Yes, I've seen a few of them done
Like
online.
in bubble wrap.
Yeah. and
So, can you explain what it is then?
So it's like a long strip of bubble wrap. I think they're about 6 or 7 inches deep, and they're about 30 inches in length. And then I think what people do is they wet the compost and then they squash it all down on top of the bubble wrap or something like that. And then they put the seeds in the compost and then roll it up like a big snail. And then the seeds appear and they come out at the top. The seedlings appear at the top, and then you just unroll it when all the seedlings have appeared and pick them out individually.
Do you wet the snails? I know that you did when you first did it.
Yeah, I think I would have thought if you've got them in the bubble wrap, I would have thought that the bubble wrap would retain the moisture.
I tell you what, why don't we ask her?
Yeah,
She's a
Sandra?
success with all of these.
yeah.
Get in
Ask
touch.
Sandra, yeah.
Get back in touch, Sandra,
Yeah.
and tell us.
I
Yeah.
think I might have a go at one.
Well, I'm thinking when we know how to do it from Sandra, let's both have a go.
Oh yeah, okay.
Okay.
Well, thanks, Sandra. I'm intrigued.
No, you're Julia,
Oh yes, I am.
and she's Elaine.
Yeah.
Hints and tips for shortcuts to success. The Potty Plotters Plotcast.
Well, thanks for listening and following us on social media this season. And if you want to get in contact, please do. Please
Please.
do.
Are you begging?
No.
No,
That's
sorry.
all right.
No. Tell us what you enjoy most about your plot and any difficulties you face.
Yeah, let's have some photos because
Yeah.
this year has been unusual already, hasn't it? We've had like a month of no rain, and then we've had sunshine that has been quite unbelievable. We've been shading everything, now we've unshaded it,
Yeah.
then we've had loads of water.
Yeah.
All the water butts are all filled up.
And then I've just been in the Community Growing Academy, which is where the starters grow all their, I suppose, tomatoes, cucumbers and everything. And I have been in and I've just found one of the peppers completely infested with whitefly.
Green fly and whitefly this
so
year.
what I've done is I've oofed it out because I don't want it to contaminate the others, and now it's come out to be treated with some organic spray on it.
Okay, well, let's see how they go on. But why don't we find out more about the weather next time?
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Ooh.
Do we know somebody?
Well, yeah.
Possibly, maybe.
Let's give him a call.
The Plotcast podcast with the Potty Plotters, sponsored by J. Parkers, is an Amberland Media production.